Hi everyone, welcome back. As part of the today's session, we are going to study a brief overview on literals, followed by the data types with some examples. So literals are representation of a fixed values in a program, and they can be a numbers or a characters or a strings basically. Literals are used to assign a value to a variable or for a particular constant. In order to define a value to a particular variable or to a particular constant, we are going to use this literal. So we are using the let keyword followed by a variable name, colon, the data type is equal to that particular value. Okay, so what I'm doing right now means on the program, whatever we have created, let me create a one more function here, and I'm naming this function as 3, okay, or a 2. I have created a new function, and on this new function, let, okay, number colon integer, and the value is equal to 1, 2, 3, and print this number. So whenever we are executing this particular test basically or the Swift code, it should execute the value, or I can say, this value should be appended to this variable, and that data should be printed down to the console. Okay, fine. So let us see the outcome, what exactly it's being printing down to the console. So here it's running the test, and that value 123 got a printed down to the console. That's fine. So depending on our requirement, we can create a number of literals. Cool. The next point here is a data type. In any programming language, data type represents how much memory that needs to be allocated. So here in Swift, we have these different data types. Character, which is used to store a single character into that. String, which is used to store a group of characters. Integer, which is used to store a particular value. Float is used to store the decimal value, and double also use it to store the decimal values, whereas the decimal count is a more and a double, whereas the float count is a less. And the next one is a boolean. Using this boolean, you can store either a true or a false. Usually we will be using this boolean precisely for a conditional checking and conditional statements. So let us start with a character. The character data type is used to represent a single character. We use the character keyword to create a character type of variables. So here, what I'm going to do now means, let me comment the existing 2 lines and where, okay. So I'm defining C as my character, colon. This is what a character type is. And the value for this particular C is a single character I'm storing into that. Okay, a single character that we are going to store inside this one. Now, when we run this particular test, whatever the value is there inside the character, that value is being printed down to the console. Character. And then the next one is a string. The string data type is used to represent some group of characters. And here we are going to use a string keyword to represent this one. So here, let me comment this character and where D colon, this is a string, and the value for this particular D is, this is a Surendra, and here I'm using print T. That's it. Let me try to run this particular one, and the D value will be printed down to the console. Perfect. And the next data type here is an integer. An integer is the one which is used to represent a whole number, which doesn't contain any fractional values. And int is a keyword that is used to represent the integer values. Let me comment these lines and let me define a variable where, okay, p colon integer, whereas the value for this p is a 1, 2, 3, and I'm using a print statement to cross check whether I'm printing the appropriate value or not. Okay, print and P. So let me try to run this script. Of course, the value was assigned to this variable, and the variable we are just printing right now. That's it. And here 1, 2, 3 got a printed down to the console. This is all about an integer. The next one is a Boolean. A Boolean is a data type which is used to store either true or a false, which is majorly used in order to verify certain conditions to perform that particular logic. And for this Boolean, we are going to use a Bool keyword out over there in the program. So here, let me comment out these lines again. And here, where B colon Boolean and B is equal to true. And I'm using a print statement of a B. So when I run this particular function right now, whatever the value we have assigned to that got printed down to the console, which is about a Boolean. And the next one is a float and as well as a double. Both are used to store the decimal values itself. Basically, if at all, okay, a float is a data type which is used to represent a functional component. We use a float keyword to create a float variables. Okay, let me show you an example for this particular float as well. So here, var c colon a float. This is what a float data type is. And the value for this one is C is equal to some value, some decimal value, and run the script. Of course, the value was appended to that variable, and whenever we are printing the variable, the value present in a variable is getting printed down to the console. Perfect. And the next one is a double. This is almost like a float. The only difference out over there is this double supports up to 15 decimal places, and you need to use simply a double keyword out over there. So here, what I'm doing means var d colon double keyword, and this d is equal to, I can add up to 15 decimals for these double, and I can print all those stuff to the console. Okay, the decimal values usually, whenever there is a latitude and longitude in those situations, you will be using this double, which will store multiple things. Perfect. These are about a high level overview on the various data types. And the next point in continuation with that we need to consider is the various operations that we can perform on a string. Usually, no matter whichever the programming language might be, if it is supporting string means on top of the string, we can perform a number of operations. The various operations, like the first one is, I can compare two different strings. In order to compare the two different strings, we can use a double equal to method to compare the two strings. If both are equal, it will return a true, else it will return a false. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now means comment out this function, and of course, let me create a new function here for this particular strings methods. Okay, so here I'm defining where str1 colon string. Okay, and of course I can assign a value also. This is a Surendra. The same way where string2 str2, this is what a string2 is, and this is Sneha. Okay, so I have defined a value for this particular two different variables, and now what I am doing means print str1 is equal to str2. When this content is equal, okay, the outcome for this thing will be returned as a true. If these two are not equal, then it will return as a false. In the current situation, both are not equal, hence it returned as a false. Right now, I changed both the text as one and the same, and now I'm executing my test, and let us see right now, as the content is equal, the return type or the return value becomes a true here. So these two lines, or this one I can say, compare two strings. Okay, this will compare two different strings out over there. Perfect. And then if you want to add one string within another string, so how exactly you can add a one string within another string? So we can use an append method, or we can also use a plus method to add the two different strings here. Okay, so I'm commenting the above logic here. And now let me place this var string. This is okay. So this is, and my second string is Surendra. So here I have a two different strings basically. My first string is this is, and my second string is Surendra. And here, if you see the method that we have, append. Append is a method using which you can add a one string with another string. So str1 dot append str2. That's it. I'm just appending str1 with an str2. That's it. So internally, what it's going to do means it will add a one string with another string. Okay, so let me print this chunk str1 append str2. When I run my test script right now, if you see this outcome, this is Surendra should be printed down to the console. Okay, so it doesn't printed anything. Just 1 second. So here str1 append str2. Okay, just 1 second. Let's reconfirm this logic. Okay, so the small mistake that we have done is usually this str1 dot append will be updating the information with this str1 itself. So that's the reason I'm just using this print str1 itself. And whenever we run this particular logic, the content got appended and the result, this is Surendra got printed down to the console. Okay, so adding one string with another string. That's it. This is a one set of logic. And the second way in order to add this particular logic is str plus is equal to str2. Again, I'm using this print str1. Let me try to run this particular logic and see how this is going to work and what exactly the value it is printing. So here, the same outcome it got a printed down to the console. Plus equal to what exactly internally it will do means str1 plus str2. The content present in a str1 and the value present in the str2 will be added down out over here. Okay, perfect. Then the next point here is str1 dot count. So count is a method which is used on a particular string to get the total number of characters. So how many characters are there in this particular string? We are going to get that information using this count method. Okay, count is a method that we are going to use in order to get the total number of characters count. So here I'm using a string 2 or a string 1, whichever it might be, the total number of characters count will be printed down to the console. That's it. Okay, we'll get a total characters count. That's it. Perfect. Done the deal. And the next concept that we need to study here is what are all the built-in functions we have in this particular Swift on top of this string. So we can use an is empty method, which will check whether the string is empty or not. Capitalize a method, it will capitalize the first letter of every word in a particular string. Uppercase is a method, which is used to convert the given string into uppercase, and lowercase is the method which will convert the given string into a lowercase. And even we have the various escape characters also. /0, it's going to be a null, and double slash, it's going to be a plain backslash, and /t, a horizontal tab, slash n, it's going to be a new line, and then slash colon, which will be a kind of a double quote representation. So these are the various methods whatever we have on top of this Swift. And even you can create a string using its instance also. We can also create a string using an initializer syntax, whereas str is equal to string, which will create an empty string. This is going to create an empty string. That's it. So these are the various data types whatever we have on Swift. We'll continue the topic with the next stuff in the next lecture, guys. Thank you.